The silent watchers. The stars above Earth died one by one as the Krell armada blotted them out. Captain Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the Terran warship Defiant, watching the tactical display turn from blue to crimson. 63 enemy dreadnoughts, 200 cruisers, thousands of smaller attack craft. Against them, Earth fielded 12 battered vessels and prayers that had stopped working 3 weeks ago. Marcus was 42 years old, though the war had aged him a decade. His dark hair had gone silver at the temples. His hands, once steady enough to thread a needle in zero gravity, now trembled when he thought no one was watching. He commanded humanity's 3rd Defense Fleet, or what remained of it after the massacre at Titan Station. "Sir, the Krell are moving into bombardment formation," said Commander Elena Vasquez from the tactical station. She was younger than Marcus, barely 30, with sharp features and sharper instincts. She had survived 4 major engagements by being smarter than everyone else in the room. "They'll be in firing range in 17 minutes. Marcus nodded slowly. 17 minutes. That was how long humanity had left, not as a species perhaps, but as a civilization. Once the Krell began their bombardment, Earth's surface would be uninhabitable within hours. The defense satellites were gone. The orbital platforms had been reduced to glowing debris. The planetary shield generators could barely maintain 40% coverage. "All ships, this is Captain Chen," he said, his voice steady despite everything. "Form up on the Defiant. We're going to buy the evacuation ships every second we can." There were no objections. Everyone knew this was a suicide mission. The evacuation transports fleeing from the southern hemisphere needed time to reach the jump point. The Defiant and her sister ships would provide that time with their lives. The Krell had been at war with humanity for 16 years. They were an ancient race, silicon-based life forms that measured time in centuries rather than decades. They had watched Earth's radio signals leak into space for generations before deciding humanity was a potential threat. Their solution was simple and absolute: extinction. They had tried diplomacy once. The Krell ambassador had arrived at Earth's moon with a simple message, translated through quantum algorithms that took 3 years to decipher. The message was this: you grow too fast. You adapt too quickly. You will consume or be consumed. We choose to consume. Humanity had refused to surrender. That decision had cost them Mars, Europa, and 7 colony worlds. 30 billion lives turned to ash and memory. Now Earth itself stood at the edge of oblivion. "Krell flagship is powering weapons," Vasquez reported. Her voice remained professional, but Marcus could see the fear in her eyes. The Krell flagship was a thing of nightmares. A vessel 3 kilometers long that looked like a crystalline mountain given wings and fury. Marcus opened a channel to the rest of his fleet. "All ships, attack pattern Delta. Target their cruisers first. If we can disrupt their formation, we might buy an extra 5 minutes. 5 minutes. As if that would matter. As if anything they did now could change what was coming. The Defiant surged forward, her fusion engines burning at maximum thrust. Around her, 11 other ships followed, their hulls scarred from 100 battles. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and out of miracles. But they were human. And humans had never learned when to quit. The first exchange of fire lit up the void like a second sun. Plasma bolts and kinetic rounds tore through the darkness. The Defiant's point defense system screamed, intercepting missiles and debris. Marcus gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered from a near miss. "Direct hit on the Beijing," someone called out. "She's breaking apart." Marcus watched another dot disappear from his tactical display. 11 ships now, then 10, then 9. The Krell advanced like a tide of inevitability. Their weapons carved through human ships with contemptuous ease. For every Krell cruiser the Defiant destroyed, 3 more took its place. The mathematics of annihilation played out in fire and vacuum. "Sir, the evacuation transports have reached minimum safe distance," Vasquez said. "They're jumping now." Marcus felt something release in his chest. At least some would survive. At least humanity would continue somewhere, even if Earth burned. "All ships fall back to Earth orbit," he ordered. "Let's give them one more fight to remember us by." That was when the universe changed. It happened without warning, without fanfare. Space itself seemed to shiver, like heat ripples on a summer road. Then, in the gap between one heartbeat and the next, something appeared. It was a ship, but calling it merely a ship was like calling a hurricane merely weather. It was vast beyond comprehension, easily 5 times the size of the Krell flagship. Its hull was black, blacker than the void around it, with surfaces that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface, glowing with a soft amber light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The bridge of the Defiant fell silent. Every screen, every sensor, every eye turned toward the impossible vessel that had materialized in Earth's orbit. "What is that?" Vasquez whispered. Marcus had no answer. His sensors were screaming contradictory data. The ship registered as being there and not there simultaneously. Its mass readings fluctuated wildly. Its energy signature was off every known scale. "Receiving transmission," the communications officer said, his voice shaking. "It's on all frequencies. All languages. Even some we've never cataloged. Play it," Marcus ordered. The voice that filled the bridge was neither male nor female, human nor alien. It was something else entirely, layered with harmonics that made Marcus's bones ache. "Humanity of Earth. We have watched your struggle. We have measured your worth. The time for observation has ended." The Krell Armada had stopped its advance. For the first time in 16 years of war, Marcus saw the crystalline predators hesitate. "Identify yourself," Marcus transmitted back. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of the Terran Defense Fleet. Who are you?" There was a pause. Then the voice spoke again, and this time Marcus thought he detected something that might have been amusement. "We are the threshold. We are the line between survival and extinction. We are the guardians of the choice you made long ago, though you have forgotten." Before Marcus could respond, the unknown ship moved. It didn't accelerate like a normal vessel. It simply was in one place, and then was in another, as if it had edited its own position in reality. It positioned itself directly between Earth and the Krell Armada. The Krell flagship transmitted. Marcus's computer translated the crystalline language, "Unknown vessel, withdraw or be destroyed. This world is forfeit." The Threshold's response was immediate. A beam of golden light lanced out from its hull, so bright that the Defiant's view screens automatically dimmed. The beam struck the Krell flagship's shields. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The Krell shields held, shimmering with absorbed energy. The crystalline aliens had withstood nuclear weapons, antimatter warheads, and weapons humanity had invented in desperation and despair. Then the shields collapsed like sugar in rain. The beam continued through, cutting into the flagship's hull. But it wasn't destroying the ship. It was doing something worse. Everywhere the beam touched, the Krell vessel began to change. Its crystalline structure started to liquefy, then reform, then break apart at the molecular level. The Krell flagship, the terror of 1,000 worlds, came apart like a sandcastle in a storm. The rest of the Krell Armada opened fire on the Threshold. Thousands of weapons, enough firepower to crack a planet, struck the black ship simultaneously. The Threshold didn't even slow down. Marcus watched in awe as the mysterious vessel began to move through the Krell formation. It was like watching a shark swim through a school of fish. Wherever it went, Krell ships simply ceased to function. Some exploded. Others went dark and drifted. Still others began to tear themselves apart as their own systems turned against them. "Sir?" Vasquez said, her voice barely audible. "Sensors are detecting something. The Threshold is broadcasting on quantum channels. It's talking to the Krell ships directly. It's rewriting their core programming." Marcus stared at the tactical display as red dots began to disappear, one after another. In less than 10 minutes, the Threshold had crippled a third of the Krell Armada. The remaining ships began to retreat, jumping to faster-than-light speeds in complete disorder. For the first time in months, the space around Earth was clear of hostile forces. The Threshold turned slowly, orienting itself toward Earth, toward the Defiant, toward Marcus, Captain Chen. The voice said, "The immediate threat has been neutralized. But you must understand, we did not save you. We collected a debt. And now the debt must be paid." Marcus felt ice form in his stomach. "What debt? What are you talking about?" 247 years ago, humanity made a choice. Your species stood at a crossroads, extinction or evolution, isolation or integration. You chose evolution. You chose integration, but you forgot what you chose. We did not forget. We have been waiting, watching for the moment when humanity would need us most. The Threshold began to move closer to Earth, its massive bulk casting shadows across entire continents. We saved you because you are ours. You always have been. Earth is not your home anymore, Captain Chen. It is your chrysalis, and the time has come to emerge. Vasquez turned to Marcus, her face pale. Sir, I'm detecting energy buildups across the planet. Power grids are being activated. Structures are rising from beneath the oceans. Facilities we never built. Technologies we never developed. Marcus watched in horror and wonder as his home world began to transform before his eyes. "What have you done to us?" he whispered. The threshold's reply echoed through the bridge, through every ship, through every communications device on Earth. "We gave you a gift 2.5 centuries ago. The gift of potential, the gift of purpose. You were children playing with fire. But we saw what you could become. We planted the seeds of your future in your genetic code, in your technology, in your very culture. Those seeds are now bearing fruit. You altered humanity," Marcus shouted. "Without our knowledge? Without our consent? We did what was necessary. The Krell were correct about one thing. You grow too fast. But they were wrong about the solution. You don't need to be destroyed. You need to be guided. And now, Captain, you will learn the price of survival. Earth will never be the same. Neither will you." Marcus Chen stared at the tactical display, at the planet he had fought so hard to protect, and realized with terrible clarity that victory and defeat had become indistinguishable. Earth had been saved, but humanity's freedom, their right to choose their own destiny, had been stolen long before the war even began. The threshold hung in orbit like a dark prophecy, and Marcus understood that the real battle was just beginning. The price of salvation, the transformation of Earth accelerated with each passing hour. Captain Marcus Chen watched from the bridge of the Defiant as structures erupted from the ocean floors, piercing the surface like metallic flowers blooming in fast forward. They were towers of impossible geometry, spiraling upward into the atmosphere, their surfaces covered in the same amber-glowing patterns that decorated the threshold's hull. Commander Elena Vasquez worked frantically at her station, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Sir, I'm receiving reports from every major city. Buildings are changing, not being destroyed but restructuring themselves. It's like someone's rewriting the architecture of our entire civilization." Marcus pulled up footage from New York. The towering skyscrapers of Manhattan were shifting, their concrete and steel facades splitting open to reveal crystalline cores that had been hidden within them for generations. The structures weren't collapsing, they were evolving, growing taller and more complex with each moment. "Get me a channel to Earth Command," Marcus ordered. "We need to organize evacuations, establish safe zones, something." "Earth Command isn't responding, sir," the communications officer reported. "But I'm picking up a broadcast. It's coming from the threshold. They're transmitting directly to every human on the planet." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Show me." The view screen flickered, and the voice of the threshold filled the bridge once more. But this time there was an image accompanying it, not of the ship itself, but of something that looked almost human. Almost. It stood 7 feet tall with features that were beautiful and terrible in equal measure. Its eyes glowed with the same amber light as the towers rising from Earth's oceans. "People of Earth," the being said, "I am the custodian, the voice of the threshold. For 247 years we have guided your development from the shadows. We accelerated your technology. We influenced your discoveries. We prepared you for this moment." Marcus felt sick. Every advancement humanity had celebrated, every breakthrough they had attributed to human genius, had been orchestrated by alien puppet masters. In the year 2398, your world stood on the brink of nuclear annihilation. The custodian continued. Your species had developed the means to destroy itself, and you were intent on using it. We intervened. We rewrote your genetic code at the molecular level. We embedded technologies in your infrastructure. We gave you the tools to survive, but those tools came with a purpose. On the screen, images flashed by. Historical moments Marcus recognized. The miracle cure for the Red Death pandemic. The sudden breakthrough in fusion technology. The unexplained advancement in AI development. All of it had been guided by unseen hands. You were meant to be our soldiers, the custodian said. Our champions in a war you do not yet understand. The Krell are merely one enemy among thousands. The galaxy is not empty, humans. It is a battlefield, and you were bred to fight in it. Vasquez turned to Marcus, her face ashen. They weaponized us. They've been weaponizing us for centuries. Marcus wanted to argue, to deny it, but he couldn't. He thought about humanity's rapid expansion into space, their aggressive colonization efforts, their willingness to fight despite overwhelming odds. Had any of it been truly their choice? Or had they been following programming embedded in their very DNA? All ships fall back to rally point Epsilon, Marcus ordered. We need to regroup and figure out what we're dealing with. But before the Defiant could change course, the threshold moved again. This time it didn't attack. Instead, it opened. A massive aperture appeared in its hull, revealing an interior that seemed to extend far beyond the physical dimensions of the ship itself. It was like looking into infinity through a doorway. Captain Chen, the custodian said, addressing him directly, you are invited aboard the threshold. There is much you need to understand, much you need to see. I'm not going anywhere near that thing, Marcus said flatly. You misunderstand. This is not a request. You are the ranking military officer in Earth's defense. You speak for humanity now, whether you wish to or not. Come aboard or we will bring you aboard. The choice of dignity is yours. Marcus looked at Vasquez. She gave him a small nod. They both knew he had no real choice. I'm going, Marcus said. Commander Vasquez, you have the bridge. If I'm not back in 6 hours or if the threshold makes any hostile moves, you jump to the fallback coordinates and warn the colonies. Sir, you can't seriously. That's an order. Commander. 20 minutes later, Marcus found himself in a small shuttle, approaching the aperture in the threshold's hull. As he drew closer, he realized the opening was large enough to swallow the Defiant whole. The interior glowed with soft amber light, and he could see what looked like corridors and chambers extending in impossible directions. The shuttle passed through the opening, and Marcus's instruments immediately went haywire. Gravity shifted. Time seemed to slow and accelerate randomly. He gripped his seat as the small craft was guided by invisible forces into a vast chamber. When the shuttle finally settled on a landing platform, Marcus stepped out into an environment that defied everything he knew about physics and reality. The chamber was enormous, its walls covered in flowing patterns of light and data. Streams of information flowed through the air like rivers of liquid crystal, and at the center of it all stood the custodian. Welcome, Captain, it said. You are the first human to stand aboard the threshold in over 2 centuries. The last was the woman who agreed to our bargain. What woman? Marcus demanded. What bargain? The custodian gestured and the flowing data coalesced into an image. It showed a woman in her 50s wearing the uniform of the old United Earth government. Her name tag read, Dr. Sarah Winters. Dr. Winters was humanity's leading geneticist in 2398, the custodian explained. She was also dying. Cancer, untreatable by your medicine at the time. We offered her a deal. We would cure her disease and save her world from nuclear war. In exchange, she would allow us to modify humanity's genetic structure and guide your development. Marcus stared at the image. One woman decided the fate of our entire species. One woman saved your species, the custodian corrected. Without our intervention, Earth would have been reduced to radioactive ash. Your civilization would have ended before it truly began. Dr. Winters understood that survival sometimes requires sacrifice. She sacrificed your freedom for your future. And what future is that? Marcus asked bitterly. To be your soldiers? Your weapons in some galactic war? The custodian's expression shifted, becoming something that might have been sympathy. No, Captain. To be our successors. The chamber transformed around them. The walls became transparent, revealing the void of space beyond. But it wasn't the space Marcus knew. This was different. Darker. Filled with shapes that hurt to look at. Entities that existed in dimensions his mind couldn't fully comprehend. The universe is dying, Captain Chen. The custodian said quietly. Not in billions of years, but in centuries. Maybe decades. There is a force consuming reality itself, eating away at the fabric of existence. We call it the erasure. It has already consumed countless galaxies. Entire civilizations have been wiped from existence, not just killed but unmade. Erased from ever having been. Marcus felt his blood run cold. And you think humanity can stop this? We know you can. We have searched for millions of years, studied thousands of species, and guided the evolution of hundreds. Humanity is unique, Captain. Your capacity for adaptation, for innovation under pressure, for refusing to accept the impossible. These traits make you the key to survival. Not just your survival, but the survival of all conscious life. The custodian moved closer, its glowing eyes fixed on Marcus. The Krell attacked you because they sensed what you were becoming. They are an ancient race, but they are stagnant, unchanging. They recognize that humanity would either surpass them or destroy them. They chose to strike first. They will not be the last. So we fight your war, Marcus said. We become the soldiers you designed us to be, and maybe, if we're lucky, we survive long enough to face this erasure thing. That's our fate? That's what Earth could never escape. No, the custodian said. Your fate is not to fight. Your fate is to evolve. The modifications we made to your species are not just military enhancements. They are the foundation for something far greater. Humanity will not stop the erasure through warfare. You will stop it through transformation. You will become something new, something that can exist beyond the boundaries of conventional reality. You will become the bridge between the physical and the infinite. Marcus shook his head. That's insane. We're just people, flesh and blood and bad decisions. We're not cosmic saviors. You are exactly what you need to be, the custodian replied, and the process has already begun. Every human on Earth is now connected to the network. The towers rising from your oceans are neural amplifiers. They will allow your species to share thoughts, memories, experiences across vast distances. You will become a true collective consciousness while maintaining your individuality. The first step toward transcendence, and if we refuse? Marcus asked. If we reject this future you've planned for us? The custodian's expression grew sad. Then you die. The Krell will return with reinforcements. The erasure will continue its advance. And humanity, along with every other species in this galaxy, will be unmade. Dr. Winters understood this. She chose survival over principle. Now you must make the same choice. Marcus stood in silence, feeling the weight of impossible decisions pressing down on him. He thought about the Defiant, about Vasquez and his crew waiting for his return. He thought about Earth, transforming beneath him into something unrecognizable. He thought about Sarah Winters dying of cancer, agreeing to sacrifice humanity's free will to save it from extinction. Show me, Marcus said finally. Show me this erasure. Show me what we're supposed to stop. The custodian nodded and the chamber transformed once more. Marcus found himself looking at a vast darkness that was somehow darker than space itself. It moved like liquid shadow, consuming stars and planets and entire star systems. And at its edges, Marcus could see things that had once been civilizations. Great cities and mighty fleets all frozen in the moment of their unmaking, caught between existence and oblivion. This is what awaits us all if we fail, the custodian said. This is why we need humanity. Why we have prepared you for centuries. The erasure cannot be fought with weapons. It cannot be reasoned with or escaped from. It can only be transcended. And humanity, with your remarkable ability to change and adapt and refuse to accept defeat, you are the best hope the universe has ever produced. Marcus watched the darkness consume another star system, and he felt something break inside him. Not his spirit, but his certainty. His belief that right and wrong were clear, that freedom and survival could coexist without compromise. What do you need from me? He asked quietly. Your acceptance, the custodian said. Tell your people what they are becoming. Help them understand that this transformation is not a theft of their humanity, but an expansion of it. Guide them through the change, and when the time comes, lead them into battle against the erasure itself. Marcus turned away from the darkness, back toward the image of Earth on the view screen. His home, his world. Changed forever, but still alive. Still fighting, I'll help you, he said. But on one condition. When this is over, when we've stopped the erasure or died trying, humanity gets to choose its own path. No more guidance, no more manipulation. We stand or fall on our own merit. The custodian was silent for a long moment. Then it nodded. Agreed. If you succeed, humanity will be free to determine its own destiny. You have my word, Captain Chen. The word of the threshold. Marcus didn't trust the alien entity, not completely, but he understood that trust was a luxury Earth could no longer afford. Survival demanded compromise, freedom required sacrifice, and sometimes the only way to escape fate was to embrace it. Hours later, Marcus stood on the bridge of the Defiant once more, addressing his crew. On Earth below, the transformation continued. Towers rose higher. Cities restructured themselves, and 7 billion humans began to hear each other's thoughts for the first time, their minds linking through the neural network that had been hidden in their genes for 2.5 centuries. This is Captain Marcus Chen, he said, his voice broadcasting to every ship in the fleet, every communications device on Earth. I have just returned from the threshold. I know the truth about what we are, what we're becoming, and why. It's not the future we wanted. It's not the future we chose. But it's the future we have, and we will face it together. He paused, gathering his strength. Earth could never escape this fate. It was written into our DNA before most of us were born. But fate isn't the end of choice. It's the beginning of purpose. We will evolve. We will transform. We will become something new. And when the darkness comes for us, we will be ready. In orbit above, the threshold hung silent, its mission complete. Earth had been saved, but at a price humanity was only beginning to understand. They had escaped extinction, but not destiny. They had won their survival, but lost their innocence. And in the depths of space, beyond the reach of sensors or sight, the erasure continued its slow advance toward Earth's section of the galaxy. Patient, inexorable, unstoppable by anything except the impossible transformation of a species that refused to die quietly. Captain Marcus. Chen watched his world change and wondered if they had been saved or simply traded one form of doom for another. Only time would tell. And time, like everything else in the universe, was running out. The story of humanity's salvation had become the story of their transformation, and the unknown ship that had decloaked above Earth had revealed a truth that could never be forgotten. Some fates cannot be escaped, only transcended.